Hi everyone, today we're going to talk about indicator species. And so what I would like you to do is to go into Schoology and find today's folder and find the assignment called Indicator Species Video and Notes. And so go ahead and put that into Notability, and if you'd like to pause the video right now to go ahead and do that, go ahead and do that. What is an indicator species? So an indicator species, you kind of have heard some of these words already, probably, especially in class. An indicator especially, we've been talking about pH and we've been using some indicators. And an indicator is something that shows the presence of something else. So we've been using pH paper, the little strips, and basically what we've been doing is we've been using it to show or indicate the pH of a liquid, whether it's an acid, base, or neutral. So we've been dipping it into different liquids, it changes color, and it will show you the pH number of whatever it is you're dipping it into. Well, in the case of an indicator species, a species is a living thing. And so when you think about living things, most people think about animals. You can also think about plants. That's a picture of my house, actually. That's my living room. No, I'm just kidding. It's not. Wouldn't that be hilarious though? That was someone's. I mean, I think that someone is actually someone's real house, but you know, little too many plants for me. But yeah, so it can be an animal, it can be plant, it can even be a bacteria or a virus. There are some indicator species that are bacteria and viruses, and they indicate the quality of what's happening in that area if there's a lot of bacteria or viruses. So an indicator species is a type of organism that shows the health, or maybe even the lack of health, of the environmental conditions in an area. And so I'm going to give you an example to explain what this actually is. My favorite example is the wood stork. If you've ever heard of a stork before, I don't know if you've seen one in real life, this is what they look like. They're a huge white bird. And the wood stork is known for living in Florida. Here's a picture of where Florida is if you're not familiar. In Florida, most people, when they think about Florida, they think about the ocean, they think about palm trees, or they think about Disney World. But really, Florida is known for this. Florida is known for the Everglades, the Florida Everglades National Park, and it's basically an area where there's wetlands. Probably you've heard that there are crocodiles and alligators that live in this area. It's swamp, and it's got a lot of vegetation and pools of water and sometimes shallow water, and not what you think of when you think about Florida and ocean. It's really kind of swampy and wetlands and alligators and crocodiles, and the wood stork lives there. And the wood stork has this very interesting way of feeding, and what it does is it has these long stick legs, and it kind of walks out into the water, and it sticks its whole head into the water, and it moves its bill back and forth, not using its sight, but instead using its sense of touch in its bill. Tactile location, it's called. And so it moves it back and forth, and it's searching for any little bit of fish that it can find, any fish that are in the water, and then it will just snap them and catch them. It doesn't look at all, it just uses its sense of touch. And these birds are big, and they require a lot of fish. In a breeding season, a breeding pair, so a male and a female, require about 440 pounds of fish in order to stay healthy and to breed a healthy, have a healthy nest. So it's really kind of a lot of fish that they require. And when you think about it, when the wood stork and why it's an indicator species, in the 1930s, there were thousands of breeding pairs living in the Florida Everglades. I mean, thousands. These birds were everywhere. By 1995, there were fewer than 500 breeding pairs. So why? Why did this happen? Well, what happened is people moved into Florida and they started developing it. And wetlands are kind of messy. Like they get really filled up and then they get really drained. And that's what wetlands do. They kind of move water along and they vary with the seasons. And people want to be able to control that. And so they started trying to control the water in that area. And they changed the way the wetlands were kind of naturally flowing back and forth. And it really affected the wood stork. They didn't have their big pools to breed anymore, to find enough fish, and they couldn't live there anymore, so they were moving to other areas. These wood stork were showing how healthy that wetland area is. And so when the population was low, it was an indication, it was showing that there was poor wetland health. The wetlands in that area were being too managed and they weren't healthy. When their population is high, that shows good or better wetland health. And so now people are looking at the wood stork and trying to make sure that their population is staying high by better managing that area. And their population is increasing. They were in the endangered list for a while, and now they're they've moved up to threatened. So they're still kind of, they're not great yet, but they're doing better. Another good example, and this is one of my favorite insects. I don't know if that's weird to have a favorite insect, but I love these guys. It's called the mayfly. They have a really interesting life cycle. As adults, they're flying insects, and this is what they look like. You probably have never seen one, actually, unless you've been around water when they happen to hatch. They only live for a day or so as adults. Most of their life is actually as a baby, as a larva. And you can see, oh darn it, I wrote flying insects here. I meant to say swimming insects, sorry. As babies, they're swimming insects. And what happens is the adult lays their eggs in water, and then when they lay them in the water, they will actually emerge and they will start to swim. And this is what they look like. They look just like this little kind of creepy looking creature. Well, what happens is these guys show the health of the water. They indicate the health of the water. And the reason for that is because they are very sensitive to the water quality. If there's high oxygen levels and low pollution, they will survive just well. So if their population is high, that's an indication that there's good water quality, or at least better water quality than in maybe another area. So if there's a lot of them, that's an indication that there's good water quality. If their population is low, it's poor water quality, because they can't survive if the water quality is high, is bad. So here's what I'd like you to do. On Schoology, go ahead and upload these notes, and then using what you've learned today, see if you can complete the homeostasis and pH analysis short right. Good luck.